We're live. Hey everyone, it's great to see you. Thanks for coming back. Today we have Andy Gilbert from Connection to Channel. We're excited to talk to him, and the topic of the day. As you've been following this series, we've been talking about the 4E's of channel, and today we're talking about education. Andy is an expert in the content area, and in addition to that, we're gonna change things up just a little bit. You've noticed Akash on our calls just about every single time we do this, and he's always got great questions. But he's a very good resource on this topic in his own right. So we're going to be chatting with them both. So maybe just a really quick intro again, Andy, for those that haven't seen you before. We've had you on the webcast in the past. You're always a great. You've always got great insights, and let's hear a little bit about your business, and then we'll go from there.
Yeah, thanks, Vaughn. Thanks, Akash. I think it's a good idea to give Akash the lead on education. He's probably closer to his degree than we are.
Yeah, true that.
But yeah, thanks for the opportunity. My name is Andy Gilbert. I head up Connection to Channel. We're a collective. There's 5 of us in the collective that are working and focused on the channel. Working mostly out of UK. We've also got a guy in Dubai, which is increasingly important these days. That gives us that true EMEA reach. And we've been engaged with channel recruitment and channel platforms. Those are the kind of the 2 bookends of our business, really. So working with you guys at Mind Matrix, we're independent, so we work with others, but we like working with you.
Yeah, we love having you on here, and we like working with you as well. Akash, why Akash? What do you tell us what you're up to as a Mind Matrix person, and where your expertise is coming from?
I'm not sure I'm an expert in this topic, but I can definitely do my best with the best of my ability and experience. And the reason that I know you asked me to lead this discussion, because I work very closely with our global partners, right? So that's one of my key focus areas. And most of the time, we hit the wall when we talk about the overarching goal of our partner program goals. And the reason that we should be talking about partner education in itself as a topic, and because most of the time we feel that and we think partner education as part of the partner enablement, which is true. I mean, most often, which is true. But based on the recent research done by Canalys, and you'll be amazed to see the data point that they found, that if we talk about the overarching goal around partner enablement processes, around 36% of those processes relates to partner education. And of those 36% data points around partner enablement processes, when it relates to partner education, and there are 2 subsets within that partner education. And the first is how a vendor can define the processes and steps and create a guided journey as part of the continuous education for their partners. So that relates to the 20% of the overall partner enablement processes. And of those 36% around that wraps around partner education, the remaining 16% relates to the overall live and on-demand training that is required for the partners. So if we encapsulate all the information and bring these data points together, we can safely say that the partner education is a topic in itself. And this is why we are having this discussion today, and we'll delve deep on this topic. And I'm pretty sure you may have a lot of questions around that.
Yeah, education is kind of one of these things that when you talk about it as a partnership leader, there's a real challenge, because you kind of want to just go, duh, yeah, partners should be educated, right? But not everyone in your business understands how you go about it. Not everyone in you're oftentimes the people that we talk to are, they're solo partner people in businesses, or they're small teams, and no one else really kind of gets what they're about. So taking that idea into account, it might be obvious, but so Andy, why is it such a thing? Why is it such a thing for companies to make sure that they're focused like that?
Yeah, again, it's probably stating the obvious, but if they don't know it, they can't sell it. That education breeds confidence. That confidence breeds motivation. You're not going to be motivated to sell something that you don't feel confident about. So it gives you more pitching opportunities. And then the holy grail that the partner themselves are identifying those pitching opportunities and placing the product correctly with that need. And then obviously that's where the revenue comes through, and that's what we will work towards. So it is obvious, Vaughn, as you say, but it's so essential. And as Akash said, 36% of these processes all relate back to this. We could probably squeeze a few more percent out of that if you think, there's probably a lot of other processes that lead into an educational outcome.
Yeah, I agree with that. For those that don't know my particular role in the Mind Matrix business, I have the sales organization reporting up into me, and we get into these conversations constantly about, hey, we need to be pushing things towards our partners. We need to be looking for ways for them to, for us to contribute to their top line. And I'd say that education bit is the single most important, or the single biggest failure point in our ability as to whether we can push things to our partners or not push things to our partners. It's really interesting, actually.
It really is.
That's one of our difficulties as well, Vaughn. I mean, you and I always talk about how we can enable our internal sellers and the entire customer success team about our own partner solution. So Annie, this has been one of our biggest struggles, but at the same time, it brings a lot of opportunities, because we know when people are educated, they are more enabled. Now they will think about those solution and products that maybe our partners have. And it also goes back to the partner side of the equation. If they are more educated, they are more enabled, which means, they are ready to bring more revenue for the company.
Yeah, absolutely.
Yeah.
And that's the challenge. That's the challenge going on from what you said, Vaughn, of the channel itself, is it's contested. If you're a direct sell vendor, you go to your direct sell team and you tell them what the latest product is, and they'll pay attention and nod, and some of them take it in, and you go away. You say that to a partner, and they'll say, yeah, that's interesting, because we had the guy in from X competitor 2 days ago, and he said that, and that kind of contradicts what you just told us. And you said your USP, they've got that as well, and they've got this other thing. Yeah. It's contested. You've got to be on your toes.
Yeah, absolutely. And it's interesting, because by the nature of things being a partnership, it's got to be two directional, right? I just mentioned how our sales guys are trying to drive top line revenue to our partners, but from a reverse direction, I think a lot of vendor organizations are always looking for ways to get their own top line revenue. So why is that? Why does that flip the script a little bit? I mean, how do they get that top line revenue into their business through the partner organization, much the way that we're trying to do it through our own direct organizations? Does that make sense? So why is partner education such a critical part in driving that partnership, that co-relationship?
Yeah, I think for me, and I'm sure Akash has a view, for me, it really comes down to strategy. You've got to have a strategy for why you're approaching those guys, why you're partnered with those guys. It's so important to have that clear direction of travel. To give you a simple analogy, imagine your proposition like a bus. Your partners jump on board the bus. What is death to that whole journey is if somebody cranks the handle as you're going along and changes the destination, and the partners suddenly go, whoa, hang on a minute, I thought we were going to, Charing Cross, and now we're going to Waterloo. What's going on? We're going to somewhere else. So that direction of travel is really important. Also, you've got the dynamic of every morning we wake up, something has changed. If your partners aren't agile enough to change with you and adapt to this dynamic world that we're dealing with, maybe they're a little bit, stuck in the past. Maybe they're a little bit flabby and comfortable. Maybe they're not the partners that got on the bus with you 2 stops ago and the partners that you need to take you forward. So
Yeah.
it's massively dynamic. It cuts both ways.
Yeah, that's a really interesting point. What would you have to add to that, Akash? I know that you look at this pretty closely.
So I think one of the things I would like to add on top of what Andy just said is that partner education I look at it's like a means to an end, right? When you look at your overall strategic goals of your partner program, partner education becomes a continuous process in this dynamic world, as Andy mentioned, because most of the time you're working with alliance partner, your ISB partner, your traditional partners, and you are bringing so many solutions at the same time to serve the end customer. So if there is no process around continuous education, around your solution products, and not only around your solution and product but also around your processes and people, because people are moving from one company to other. So how you need to make sure there is a proper stakeholder mapping given to your partners, who to reach out and when. The bigger the organization is, the complex the process come. So
Yeah.
so how you have the continuous education around people, the stakeholder mapping around processes, because most of the time, if you have to be agile, then you need to create more processes. You need to bring new processes to the mix. So how the partners are educated not only on products and solution, but also on people and the processes. So these are
Mhm.
the three key things, and most of the time we forget about stakeholder mapping and processes education. We focus solely on products and solution, and that's where most of the vendors, their partner enablement program and education is wrapped around. So I think
So so as a strategic consultant, and it's one of the things I really like to do as part of the business. I like to step in and understand people's partner programs and how our technology can help their program and what they're trying to accomplish. Um, do you see this education process as tactical or strategic? Who
I,
wants to take that?
I
Yeah.
think it's got to be both.
yeah,
I
Okay.
always think of the strategy is the vehicle, the tactics are the wheels. You know, you can have the greatest strategy in the world, but if it ain't got momentum, if it ain't going anywhere, it's not going to achieve your objectives. So, you know, you need to have those two things working in concert, and it needs to work in. It comes back to my point about direction of travel and routing. You know, you need to know, the partners need to know, this is going to take this route, and if I jump on this bus, it's going to take me to this place, and that's the place I want to be. If you keep shilly-shallying and changing direction, partners just, you know, after a while they go, oh man, not another change. And that could be, back to your point, Akash, it could be, you know, it's kind of people, it could be directional. A new CMO
yeah,
comes in, a new head comes in and says, oh right, we're not going that way, we're going that way. That's unnerving, really unnerving for a partner that you've just asked, can you commit yourself and your sales guys and your teams to really get behind my product and my solution? And they're going, I would if I knew where the heck you were going. You keep changing, you know?
Yeah.
agreed.
That's really important.
So, Akash, I'm going to put you on the spot a little bit. I've been in many sessions where we've had some pretty senior leaders in the room, and this question always comes up as to whether these education elements and certification elements are leading or lagging indicators. What do each of you think? Are they leading or lagging?
I would say both at the same time. Depends how you're doing that, how you are tracking the whole process, or how you're formulating your overall partner education program. So
Mm.
it can be converted into a leading indicator if you're doing it properly. If not, it can be lagging indicator, which
Mm.
means you can go nowhere by just monitoring a few things around partner education. So
Yeah.
Oh, that's
it
interesting.
it's coming back to Andy's point. At the same time, it's a strategic lever, but at the same time, you need to be very tactical around how you want to formulate and establish your partner program journey.
Yeah,
Okay.
definitely.
Andy,
And
leading
there's
or
an
lagging
element, yeah,
of
there's
leading
an
or
element,
lagging indicator of downstream revenue. I'll even be more specific.
yeah, there's always going to be a push and pull element to that.
Yeah,
You know, you've got to push it in order that you pull the opportunity through, and you've got to take that initiative and be really clear and transparent and obvious in a way to your partners. This is the way we're heading, and this is why we're telling you this stuff that we're telling you, in order that you can get that revenue pull through. So like Akash said, you've got to have the two working in concert, and that creates its own challenges when there's so much dynamism and there's so much development, and AI is chucking stuff at us, every 5 minutes. And
yeah,
again, I sound like a stuck record, but it comes back to, I know we've got all this new stuff coming on board, but we're still headed in this same direction. We haven't changed our direction of travel. This is where we're going to take you. We're just going to go faster because we've got all these cool things, AI and processes and things that are going to get you there quicker. That is music to a partner's ears. They love that. Any kind of uncertainty and shilly-shally.
Uncertainty is their favorite thing, I'm sure. Okay, so let's flip the script a little bit. We have a tendency to talk about what we want partners to do, and there's a lot of focus on that. But in an industry that's sort of turning on us a little bit, let's call it that. It used to be that the organizations themselves sort of had the power in that dynamic, and it's really turning towards the partners having the power in that dynamic, particularly the ones that have really, really good capability in some specific areas. Taking all of that into account, you've got these PAMs and CAMs who are trying to support these relationships. What does that role, or how is that role and the enablement of that role critical to this sort of educational process, and A, educating them, and then B, educating the partners? I mean, do you have any view on CAM enablement?
I think, again, is that stuck record again? It's the strategic approach. It's the direction of travel. It's the no snags. You don't want to give partners anything that they're going to trip over, where they go, whoa, hang on a minute. Why are you telling me this? How does this relate to what you said before? How is this going down that path? The more consistent you can be, and the more logical you can be in your strategic approach, the better your tactics work. Because then when you have to be agile and respond to things very quickly, the CAMs and the PAMs are going to go, no, I get it. This is actually what I've heard from my customers, and they're actually speaking the same story. This is consistency. And that's where you can really get some differentiation over some of these organizations that may look like, they're really driving ahead. Well, guess what? They just got bought by XYZ Corp. And then they go into PERDA for 18 months, and nobody really knows what's going on and what's going to happen, and is the direction going to be the same? Salespeople won't sell that. They feel nervous. They feel uncertain. So just that kind of steady Eddie approach, I think, is really critical to the PAMs and CAMs, and the credibility. That's the bottom line. Is this message credible?
Yeah.
Does it kind of strike me? These guys, they haven't just crawled out from under a rock. They've been doing this a while. They can hear when something doesn't ring true. I'm talking about both the sellers on the coalface, but also the marketing guys, the management has to be credible, has to be consistent.
I've heard people say that CAM role or that PAM role is the hardest, or one of the hardest roles in the entire business, and it has to do with the ability for them to sell through another organization, right? Their measurement KPI, the success of their role, is entirely dependent on another organization's ability to sell to a third organization. Okay. And it's that educational process of making sure that the CAMs understand what their goals are and where their focus areas are becomes really pertinent to what they're doing. And your example, Andy, of the organization that was just purchased, now they've got all of the people that they're talking to asking them about, well, what does that mean for me? How am I going to be, consuming your products? How am I going to sell your products? And suddenly they're kind of put on the spot, so to speak.
I mean, agree, Vaughn. There are a lot of research that has already been done by the CAMs and PAM do not receive those kind of training and enablement the way they should have. So when we look at the partner education, it's such a hierarchical process that vendor, if they create a process around partner education, they have new solution, new products, new processes. If I mean, they are not going to teach and educate their camps and PAMs who are having the most face time with the partner. And the partner, just as we say, the partners are nearest to the customer, same way the camps and PAMs, they are closest to their partners. I mean, if they are educated, they can create such a tailored and personalized experience for the end partners who can be more educated on new products and processes. It's
Yeah.
it's such a fundamental thing to do. But I mean, all the new enterprise vendors, mid-sized vendors, they forget to do that.
Yeah. And going back to your point, Vaughn, the key thing that the vendors get from their channel is that relationship. That's why the as you described it, the balance of that relationship is maybe swinging in favor of the channel, just because they own the relationship. They know the people they're selling to. So to some degree, they hold the whip hand because it's all about relationship.
So that actually, the responses that you guys have just given bring up a question that I wanted to ask about. For someone that hasn't done this 19 times already, what are the key elements of these partner education initiatives? What should they be considering?
Yeah, I think it's an old chestnut, but business benefits over bits and bytes. The product guys love to tell you about speeds and feeds, and was it ever thus? We've got to talk to the channel. We've got to equip our cams and PAMs with business messages, because relationally, that's what their clients want to know about. They don't want to know about the fees and speeds. They want to say, so it goes faster. What does that mean to my business? Does that mean more resilience? Does that mean less downtime? Does that, translate that into dollars and pounds and euros, and I'll listen. So all of those things are really key.
So materials around. It's funny that you mentioned this because it comes back to age-old sales process, right? Stop telling about the features, start telling about what the problem is that it solves.
Yeah, absolutely. And I think it was Jay McBain on one of his recent webinars. He was talking about the CMO now is a significant, if not the preeminent, purchaser of tech. And that is line of business. That's not the IT department.
Yeah.
So, and they don't want to hear about these speeds and feeds. They want to say, okay, how's it going to bring my team together? How's it going to make my sales more effective? How's it going to, get me quicker to market? Those are the metrics they're interested in.
Yeah, that makes total sense. Can you set a process that's repeatable? Do you think? Like
sure.
for the person
if you've got the right platform, you can do anything, Vaughn. You know that.
Yeah.
Before the platform, Andy, I think if we have the right processes around partner education, for example, a different set of partners require different set of support and training requirement, right? If you're working with a reseller, if you're working with ISP partners, their whole partner education is going to be entirely different. So how, before you take a platform, how you are able to create that tailored personalized journey and processes around partner education, I think that is going to dictate your overall success of your partner education program. And then a platform like MindMetrics, they can come in, they can let you track all the KPIs, metrics around partner education, let you augment the whole process around education. So think about what we can do before implementing any platform like MindMetrics.
Yeah, I think there is coming together.
Let's talk about the tech. Let's talk about the tech for a second. You've got these PRMs, they're varying levels of sophistication in terms of what they can do. What should people be looking at when they start to onboard tech with the aim of partner education as being the goal or keeping people in the loop?
I would say start with your key criteria for your key objective, your core objective. Why are you going to bring in a PRM platform? And as Akash said, I was just going to make a comment that I think there's a meeting between the processes and the PRM platforms, because the PRM can help to define and to tighten up on some of those processes. And let's be honest, a lot of those processes relate to individuals and relate to individual partners. And, you know, oh, it's Dave, he's got this way of working with Pete because they've always worked together for 20 years. Well, Dave's just retired. Dave's just got hooked by a competitor. Dave's not there anymore. You know, where's the process in that? So,
Yeah.
you know, it's really important those two things come together. And sometimes, you know, it's a bit like iron sharpening iron. You know, the two things work together to really make that nice and tight and functional.
How do you, I know that with our platform, we can actually run the certifications and run the education and do some pretty serious stuff on the enablement side of things. But how do you tie all of these things together into an education process that matters for the partners, matters for the CAMs, matters for the, you know, the other relevant parties here? I mean, is it a one size fits all for everyone that's involved? Because I have a feeling that what's happening is that in a lot of cases, the CAMs are just enabled in the same way that the partners are, and they're all sort of just a little bit lacking in their ability to, well, not their ability, the information that's provided to them to be successful.
Yeah. I think you have to have that kind of breakdown process. You have to look at it a bit like, you know, these events we go to. You have the big plenary session, you know, everybody's in there, everybody's hearing the same thing at the same time. But then immediately there are breakouts, you know, because otherwise the guys are going to switch off. You know, if you talk techie to a guy who's really selling a business proposition, he's going to go, yeah. Okay, fast forward. When do you get to the business bit? The techie guys, you know, the support guys, first and second level support guys, really need to know that stuff. You know, they need to be all over that. So it's got to be really customized and custom fit to what that person's role is. And again, without leading the jury, that's where the platform comes in. That you can really direct that, and you can manage that process. Because otherwise, if you don't have that kind of overview, that structured overview, things can very quickly, you know, go off in different directions. And, you know, you're asking somebody, hang on, why did you just give that training to that person? Well, he needed something, you know, specifically different. Yeah, but that's not on our route. You know, that's kind of off script. So there needs to be flexibility, but equally it's like a suspension bridge. Pull it in both directions.
I mean, cookie cutter approach is not going to work when it comes to partner education, because people have different KPIs to track, different responsibilities, roles. I mean, it really doesn't work in that fashion, for sure.
Yeah. I fall back on my research days when everything was about segmentation. It's giving the people the enablement and education that they need, given the role and the position that they play in an organization. And that one size fits all never worked in those circumstances, and likely won't work in this one as well. Interesting.
One thing, Vaughn and Andy, I would like to add when we talk about partner education, most of the time, we always forget about partner sellers, how to educate them, because they are the one who are going to sell on ground. And most of the time, we design our partner education program for the partnership team sitting at partner organization. I mean, they are more educated on all the solution that the vendor has, but most of the time that they lose sight, the information is lost from making a transition from partnership to the seller. So how can vendor design a program and processes around how they can bring partner sellers to at the same level to the mix? So this is one thing I just wanted to highlight.
Yeah. And make it simple as well. Make sure that, coming back to the old elevator pitch, you know, when a seller at the coalface is in conversation, he's not going to say, "Oh, hang on a minute, you just mentioned something there. I remember I had a presentation. There's only 36 slides. I'm sure I can if I can just find it on my system." And the guy's going, "I've got a call right now. Bye." Got to be ready with the elevator pitch. You know, what are the 3 key things? Just drum that into your sellers. Make sure they've got that burned into their brain.
I have a real tendency to, when I work one-on-one with our sales team, I'll say, you know, tell me what we do in 15 seconds. and they do it, and then I'll say, now tell me what you do in 5 seconds, because sometimes you don't even have 15.
Yeah.
And knowing what that value proposition is and being able to say it right off the top is key. Okay, so this is my favorite part of these calls. I want three outcomes from this call that people should walk away with. And so 3 from you, Andy, 3 from you, Akash, and you're going to have to go fast.
Okay.
They're going to have to be 5 seconds or less on each one.
Okay, shall I go first, Akash?
Yep, let's do it.
I've got 4, actually. I'm going to sneak an extra one in, but the 3 are clear direction of travel. And don't be afraid to cut partners if they're not going the same way as you're going. If they don't want to get to the same destination, just part on good terms, but don't string them along. Set and communicate the overarching strategy, and then make it simple to understand, as we just said, and then drive the tactics out of that. Make sure that's a dynamic, moving thing, and make sure I can't imagine how you could do this without a PRM platform, but make sure your PRM is up to the job. It's got to be integrated. It's got to be able to accommodate all of these things. There's no place, I don't think, for best of breed saying, oh, well, this is really good over here, and let's bring it over here, and let's bring that thing over there. That's just too confusing for the channel, particularly for your partners and the sellers. Make it simple. So my last thing is about AI. Really, really drill down on AI. Don't just ask the question of, let's say, a platform vendor to say, how are you doing with AI? Oh, we're all over it. Ask them, drill down, kick the tires, find out exactly what that means. Really ask some tough questions.
There's a lot of things you can do with AI, and I think that's another session ourselves that could be really interesting.
Yeah.
Akash, what are your 3 if that they should walk away with?
Quick 3 things. When we talk about partner education, think about creating stakeholder mapping, the process education, and the products and solution education, and use a technology like Mind Matrix that can underpin all 3 subset of your partner education. That's it.
Yeah.
All right. And for me, it's give them the stories. Give them the stories to be successful that they can tell, because everyone remembers a good story. Okay, well, that's it for today. We appreciate everyone taking the time with us. Watch for our next one, driving partner sourced revenue with the 4E's. The 4th one's coming up. Thanks, Andy. Thanks, Akash. We really appreciate you guys showing up, and we'll talk to you all soon. Take care.
Thanks for having me. Thanks, guys.
Bye.